Welcome, everyone. Welcome to my Thursday night real estate investor hangout. I am so glad you made it here tonight. Thank you for joining me. I like to give good training on Thursday night and teach you all about all the different things I've learned over the years as a real estate investor. So welcome to the show. I'm really glad that you're here. And this replay will be showing up on YouTube. It also ends up on my Facebook page, and sometimes it goes on Google Plus as well. I am double broadcasting. I'm broadcasting on Periscope. So if you see a little pink spot over here, that is my phone, and that is pointing at the screen. So the guys on Periscope are watching us live as well. So thank you for joining. There's a poll posted. If you would like to take the poll, that would be great. It just asks how many deals you've done, and it helps me determine what kind of content I need to give you, because it lets me know where you're at in your real estate investing, if you're just starting or doing 1 to 3 deals, or if you've done more than 3 deals. And that includes flips or rentals, so or wholesales. So whatever you're doing, at least you're involved in property. And if you haven't started yet, that's awesome. You're at the right place, because I can help you get started. All of these replays are on YouTube at Wise Wealth University. So if you want a lot of great content and you want to just sit there, you better take a beverage, because the playlist has about 36 hangouts in it, and you can get a wealth of real estate investing without ever leaving your house and going to LA for a seminar. Okay, so no planes involved. Just go to YouTube. All right, so tonight I'm going to talk to you about the materials and the slides and the information that you need to give to a private lender to get your credibility up with them, and also to make them feel comfortable with you. So let me introduce myself before that. So I'm Janice Bell. I'm a real estate investor, mentor, and coach. And I've been doing real estate essentially since 1989. I mean, who wants to admit that? But I've got years of experience holding rentals, buying and selling flips, being in teams, doing it as a team sport, because it definitely is. And so I coached about 250 real estate students as a coach. So I just want to share that wealth of information with you. And because I coach so many students, I got a really good idea of what it is that holds people back. And correct me if I'm wrong, and put this in the chat, guys. But what I see is that people have trouble with private lending. Where do I get the money? And they have trouble with, how do I get the number of deals? Because they really don't know what kind of marketing to do. And there's a lot of marketing that you can do. And one of the things is sending out letters. And that's a whole nother, course in itself, is how to do your marketing and get the letters sent out. And that just throws people off. So they just get stuck and end up spinning their wheels, because you really want to find deals off market. That's how you get a really great deal. So tonight I'm going to talk about private lending. So what I'd like you to do is put your name and city in the chat. And if you're on Periscope, guys, put your name and city in the chat, so that the people on the broadcast, know who you are and what city you're coming from, because what market you're in really determines a lot about the type of real estate deals that you can do easily or without a great deal of difficulty. So why don't you go ahead and do that, and I'm going to go ahead and screen share the slides with you, and we'll get started with the content. So let me find the slides. There we go. All right. Here we are on the slides. Hopefully, I'm going to make this a little bigger so that it's really big for Periscope people, because otherwise, they're looking at the whole screen. I'll try to bring it in a little closer for you guys, all right? And remember, you can always watch the replay on YouTube. Hey, Kiki, thanks for joining. All right, so hopefully you can see that. So what I've done, and you can see the slides on the left, this is in Pages, but you could do it in PowerPoint, is I have a series of slides that I would bring to a meeting with a potential private lender. But first, I would have had a conversation with them, like we talked about last week, And that conversation is about the investments they have and what kind of interest rate they get, whether they like stocks or, are they really disappointed with the rates that CDs are getting. And I asked them a question: do you know anyone who's not getting 8 to 10% on their retirement and their investments? And this is a great way to approach it, because you're not asking them about them, you're asking them if they know someone else. And they usually will say, well, what about me? They say, well, I'm not getting 8%. So that develops the conversation. Thank you. Thanks for the hearts, you guys on Periscope. You're hearting it up over there. And if you're on YouTube, you should join Periscope as well and start watching a lot of these trainings right here on Periscope. So anyway, that's how you start the conversation. And then if they're interested, you can have lots of those short conversations. But if someone's interested, I suggest you meet at your home, their home, or in a coffee shop, and go through some slides that you can have on your computer, your laptop. You can have them on Google Drive and show them on your iPad. As long as you have something to show them that you've prepared ahead of time and thought out. Okay, so let's jump into that. What I'm doing is preparing these slides because I'm going around to local Rotary clubs and small groups and talking to them just on the idea. So these slides aren't tailored specifically for individuals, but for a small group. But I could change a few words in them and they'd apply to an individual. When I work with people that are close friends of mine that have known me for years, we don't even get into the slides because they're doing it based on trust. But if it's a friend of a friend or someone who referred you, I would suggest you go through the slides. It just gives them a much better idea of what's going on. All right, so let's get started. So here's the slides. This is my introduction to private lending. Secured by real estate, hassle-free, superior returns. And this is what you would get as a private lender. So do-it-yourself pension using other people's property. And here I would suggest that you come up with a name for yourself. I put director of funding. It could be CFO. The reason I didn't put CFO of my company, which would be chief financial officer, is I don't really deal with the accounting and taxes. We have another partner who does that. So I don't want to be involved with that part of it. Although I understand how it works and I do it, I don't do it in our company. So I have a team in Sacramento that does flipping, and this is I'm addressing it for them. I have another team in Phoenix that we do some flips with, but this was directed towards getting people in California to invest in California. So DIY your pension with other people's properties. That's the title of my talk. So we're here to get acquainted. And this is a little stilted because I'd be talking to a small audience like a Rotary Club. But if you're talking to your friends, you don't really need to do that. And I want to offer you some insight into how the financial world has changed. I want to offer alternative investments to the classic bank CDs and annuities that you might be familiar with. And I want to answer your questions while I'm here with you today. So what is private mortgage lending? This is the agenda. This is what we're going to go over today. What's in it for you? How can you benefit from private mortgage lending? And I'm going to give you many different examples about how you can benefit and how I have had a lot of deals that we've done in the past where private lenders have invested. And I'll tell you a little bit about my company and the experience of the principal people in the company. All right, how does your bank make money today? Or the way they've made money many, many times in the past? They take money in on CDs, and that's you. You're giving them money on a CD. And then they loan the money out at a superior interest rate to other people to buy houses, and that's us. Okay, so when we do private mortgage lending, we're cutting out the middleman, and the middleman is the bank, or they are all the banks. There's a lot fewer banks than there used to be. So we're cutting out that middleman. Here's an overview of my private lender program. We buy and sell houses. To buy houses, we prefer to borrow money from private individuals. We pay you up to 9%, and this was a little bit old. I'm going to change it to 10%, but I didn't change it because later on in the slides, you'll see I did a bunch of calculations, and I haven't wanted to go through and change all the calculations, but I'm going to, because basically we pay 10% now. So we pay you up to 9% to use your money on our projects. It's a very simple plan. Think of it like a bank CD. You have to bring it into what they're familiar with. Okay. So how does a private lender program work? We locate a property that we want to buy. We borrow money from you to purchase the property. And we have a formal closing in an escrow company, and you get a mortgage on the house with other important documents. And I'm just going to take a break here for the Periscope people. I'm going to turn off that one light because it seems to be, is that better? Tap some hearts, guys, if that looks better, because I can keep that light off because it puts a glare on the screen. Yes. Okay, I'm going to turn that one off. If you're watching on YouTube, you have no idea what I'm talking about, but the Periscope people are much happier with those lights off. Okay. So back to the slides. The availability of cash allows us to buy at a discount. We're not having to wait 30 days to get a bank loan. So we can say cash offer, and it gets our offer accepted. All right, so here's how it works. I have 2 slides on how it works, depending on if you're flipping or you're buying and holding. This one is for flipping, but it's very similar to the next one. So you have a private lender here, and they get documents securing a loan. Let's start over with purchasing the house. So we're going to purchase the house. We shake hands. We remodel it. We sell the house for a profit. The principal and 9% interest is paid from escrow to you, the private lender. Whenever we buy a house, you get documents securing the loan to the house. And I should have started with the documents. And that's how it goes through the cycle again. Once we do it once, you can repeat it on another house. You get new documents, new house, we purchase it, remodel, sell, you make money. So we can keep doing this each time and circulate the money through. Here's how it works, and this is really important for your private lenders. They don't understand how they're going to get paid. Okay, they've seen shows on TV, man, everyone's seen those shows, but they don't know how they're going to get paid. So you have to show that to them, that they get paid at escrow when you make a profit, and that's where the money comes from. Okay, they don't understand because they have a mortgage and they pay their mortgage from their salary. So you have to let them understand that you're not paying the mortgage from your salary. You're paying the mortgage when you make a profit. And you don't make any profit till after they get paid. So if there's really no profit in the deal, they will get paid out of escrow and you might not make much. So here's how it works on rentals. If you're accumulating rentals, this is what you do. And I'll talk later. We have a different interest rate for the rentals, and I forgot to change it in the slide. So we purchase a home, we put a tenant in there, the tenant makes a rent payment. The rent payment will be used to give you, the private lender, a 6% interest payment. And the reason we do that is because we don't have to go in and out of escrow and maybe your money's sitting idle for a month or two. It's always making money. So we pay 6% over the whole year, and it can go on year after year as long as we hold this house. And if we do sell this house, we'll probably buy another one and put a new tenant in. So it's more like getting a monthly or quarterly. So I suggest, thanks for joining the broadcast. So I suggest to private lenders that if they want a monthly or quarterly income, they go into this type of regular deal. And if they want a higher interest rate and they're not trying to live off it, that they do flips. And that's the first slide up here. Okay, so this is how the rental thing works. We use the rent to pay the private lender, and we keep doing that month after month. I should put a big repeat block in here. And that's how they get paid. So we make quarterly payments of 6 to 8% simple interest to you, the private lender, and we make monthly payments. If you want monthly, it's a little bit lower, 6 to 7%. But quarterly, it depends on the amount and what's easier for you. You get a 9% interest if you let it accrue until the house is sold, and then you get one check for principal and interest. So it just depends on the needs of your private lender. Remember, this is all about their needs. It's not about yours. Yes, it's going to help you buy property, but it's not, they don't care about that. It's not about your needs. Remember, it's their money. Okay. You're giving them a better return than they can get at the bank. So what if someone says to you, well, I have this money in a CD. It's a $10,000 CD. I don't really want to pull it out because I'll get a penalty. All right. So say they're getting 1% in the bank. Their 12-month return on 10 grand is $100. Please. It is so low. It's so pathetic. Poor people who are living on this, retired people. At 9%, their 12-month return is $900 on a $10,000 CD. The bank's penalty, and I don't know every single bank, but I checked a few. The bank's penalty is only $75 on the CD. If you took the money out and paid the penalty, you'd still make $825 more even with the penalty. So it's one way to explain to them that they can pull the money out, pay the penalty, and still make more money. So it stops people from getting stuck. That's what you want to do. All right, so the private lender program, and I'm just going to stop for a second and talk to the Periscope people. If you do want to watch the slides, you can watch it later on YouTube, and you can also go to wisewealthuniversity.com and sign up for the Hangout. You can do that even now, and you would be able to maybe see the slides a little better because you're a little bit of an angle and it's a little small, but I will keep going. All right, so the private lender program, here's a sample loan for $35,000. Now I have a minimum of $20,000 on our deals, and that's to let people come in when they're just not sure how it works and they just want to see how it works. And so they might put in 20. Most of my people put in 50 kind of right off the bat, but if they're unsure, it lets them get in for that. So I just picked a number in the middle, a sample loan of $35,000 at 9% interest. They would make $787 per quarter, and that's $3,000 a year. So on $35,000, they're going to make $31.50 a year. If it was 10%, it's much easier for me to tell them. You put in 35. If we keep the house for a year, you make $3,500 for the year. A bank CD at 1.25% would only pay them $437 per year. It's really good to show them the contrast between the bank CD and the, it gave me a message about cell data being used. Okay, between the bank CD and what you would be paying them. And then the big difference, $2,700 that they can't get from the bank. That's what they're going to get from you every year. So how do we buy houses so far below market value? Our specialty is distressed properties, and they usually need to be renovated. We know where to look, what to buy, and how to renovate them. We create value by taking ugly houses and putting them back to use after we renovate. So what kind of documents would secure your loan to the property? This is really important to your private lender, okay? So if you're joining on Periscope, go ahead and invite some followers. I'm talking about private lending, and you can, go back and watch the replay later, but we're kind of in the middle of the slide, so I'd love to have more people join in. Thank you for the hearts, guys. So here's the documents that would secure your loan. There's a promissory note that tells how much they lend and what the interest rate is. Then there's a mortgage or deed of trust. The mortgage or deed of trust ties the note to the property. Okay, the mortgage or deed of trust is recorded at the county recorder's office against your property. You cannot sell it without paying off this mortgage or deed of trust. and the mortgage deed of trust amount is identical to the amount on the promissory note. The promissory note does not have to be recorded. The person who lends you the money keeps the note until you sell the property. So the mortgage and deed of trust binds the note to the property. Hazard insurance, there'll be hazard insurance against the property for the amount that they lend or hire, depending on, who you get the policy with. Title insurance, we always get title insurance when we buy the property, and it ensures that we, as our company, LLC, or your corporation, has complete title, and we're insured against any title defects. And also an appraisal. So when we first start, we get an appraisal of the current value and also the after repaired value. And I think you guys as real estate investors probably already know after repaired value is what you're going to sell it for when it gets fixed up. It's an estimate. It comes from the appraiser. You might not always get it exactly, but it's very close to what you should get if you sell, in the next 6 months. Unless it's 2008, which we've all been through. So you as the lender have no expenses. We take care of all those documents for you. Oops. I was clicking on the Google Hangout screen instead of on my actual slides. All right. So your biggest concern is your protection of principal. So the number one rule is that money borrowed is no higher than 80% loan to value after the renovation. So based on that after repaired value appraisal that we talked about, the values are based on those appraisals. And so we do not over leverage the property. So on the next slide, I give them a little bit of kind of a chart. It's supposed to look like a house. There's plenty of equity protecting your loan. So the maximum value, say it's 100,000 after it's repaired, the maximum loan we would take is 80% of the 100,000. I mean, we may have bought the house for 50. I'm assuming we would, or 40 or 35, it doesn't matter. So, but your maximum loan to value is 80%. So now this is the part that the private investor doesn't know. So here's your loan, and this may be your profit from above the loan. So the interest you pay the private lender comes out of this money. The difference between 100,000 and 80,000, you have to pay for the loan, you have to pay for the closing costs, and you have to have your profit in there. So you really want to buy, you can see why you want to buy your houses low, guys. All right. You guys all know that, I'm sure. All right. So what I want to present to you today as a potential lender is take control of your future finances. Are you retired or laid off, or have you recently quit your job? Do you have money in old IRAs, 401 pension plans? Did you know that you can self-direct your IRA, a traditional or a Roth, or a pension plan that was left in your old 401k plan when you left your previous employer? Your returns will stay tax deferred or tax free in those plans. It's really simple, easy, and we do all the work. We give you suggestions on which companies to use. Myself and my husband, we have our IRAs in self-directed accounts. And just a little plug for my friend Karen Hall. If anyone knows her, she's in Orange County. She has a company called UDirect IRA, just the letter U and then the word direct IRA. So udirectira.com, and that provides self-directed pension plans, Roths, and real estate, checkbook IRAs, a whole bunch of different types of accounts, even the health savings account. She handles that. So from those accounts, you get to invest in real estate. So just note, guys, like I'm jumping around a bit because I'm talking about what I would say to a private lender, but I also have a few asides to tell you guys why I'm saying these things and little tips. So it's not exactly how I would say it directly to a private lender, but you're getting kind of the inside scoop as I go through it. So what happens when you pay taxes if you invested in this IRA, in with your 100,000. If you got 9% on $100,000 and it was in there for a year, you'd make 9,000 and you'd pay $5,000 in taxes, depending on your tax bracket, and you would net $4,000. It still beats bank CDs by a mile because you'd only get $1,000 from the bank, and then you'd pay taxes on that. Now, in this example, if the money's already in your IRA and you pay 9%, you'd make $9,000 on our deal. We might do 2 deals a year. So you might put the money in, you'll get it back from escrow. We'll tell you when the next house is ready. You'll send it into escrow again, and we'll buy a second one. So let's assume your money was put to work for the entire year. You made $9,000 in your IRA. You would pay 0 taxes, and you'd have a $9,000 net to your IRA. Hopefully, after you did that, you would keep doing with us again. Okay. And again, I don't talk this way when I just talk to a friend, but if I'm doing a presentation to a small group at the Rotary Club or a golf club or something, then I would talk like this. Okay, so you're in control of the investments you want. We do all the paperwork. We can't move the account for you, but we can give you instructions and help you move your account to a truly self-directed IRA company. And I've done that for several of my friends already because they don't work at the same company anymore. And they had an old 401k just sitting there, sort of making some stock investments, but they're only in the mutual funds that their previous company owned. Most people, when they're laid off, they don't like their previous company. So they're happy to move it and take control themselves. The custodian, the direct custodian will send the money to escrow to fund the closing. Later, when the house sells, the principal and interest are sent directly back to your IRA account. So we really never see the money. I mean, it goes into the house and then back. And here's another aside for the real estate investors. So say you borrow enough money to buy the house and you're borrowing money to do the rehab. So if, say you're buying the house for $50,000 and you borrow $70,000, the $20,000 that comes out of escrow will go to you out of escrow because you're the owner of the property, and then you'll use that money to do the rehab. So that's how the rehab money works if you overfund it. You really never want to borrow money from people directly. You want that money secured by the property by going through an escrow. And I talked to my friend at the title company. I think in a couple days, I'm going to do a scope specifically about title insurance and how that works. He agreed. He's new on Periscope, and I was his first follower. So he agreed to come on, and we'll pass the scope from me to him, and then you guys can follow him and find out what he says about title insurance for investors and private lenders. Here's another really cool way to invest, and one of my friends does this with me all the time. You can use whole life insurance policies or home equity lines of credit. You borrow the cash value from the life insurance or the equity. And what he does is borrow from his home equity line from his house. Then he loans it out by sending it to escrow, and he loans it on one of our remodel projects. So he earns right now 10% from us, and then he pays 3% to the bank. So he's making 7% on money that's from his house. That's a HELOC, but he really didn't ever make the money. It's just the equity in his house. So he's able to do that over and over again. He basically writes a check from his home equity line of credit and sends it to escrow. That's all he ever has to do with it. So it's just wonderful. Well, he writes the check and puts it in his own bank account and then does a cashier's check to escrow. So, or he wires it, it's really easy, but it's a great way to tap into different investors who have money tied up, but they don't have it in a truly self-directed account so far. Okay. So as a private lender, you're probably wondering who does sell us houses. We buy from banks, private individuals, realtors, and from HUD, the Federal Housing Authority. So if a house gets taken back by HUD, sometimes it needs a lot of work, and that's where we come in and buy that property. Who rents or buys the houses after we're fixed it up? Well, the new homeowners who are there can achieve the American dream of home ownership, and also quality tenants who rent a renovated property. The whole neighborhood benefits from the improved value when we renovate a property. So we're really happy, the homeowners are happy, and the tenants are happy because all the work has been taken care of already. So another question you might ask, but you don't really want to, I know it's in the back of your mind. What happens to my loan if Janice dies? Okay, you're not going to say that, but I'm going to bring it up, okay, so that you know and you can feel comfortable with it. I've already thought about that. The business is structured to sell the properties and pay you off. Your loan is still secured by the property. Okay, so it really is irrelevant what happens to my health. Okay, the property will be sold and your principal and interest will be paid as agreed because the escrow company will be following their directions. So we've gone through the agenda on the private lender program, and now let me step into the second part of the agenda where I talk about the principal backgrounds and the overview of our company. So for principal backgrounds, back in 1989, I know it's ancient history, Janice became an investor. That's me. I became an investor when I bought my first condo, and I bought my first house, and then I rented out the condo that I had already purchased and been living in for a couple of years. So that's kind of how I got started, but I really didn't go into, I had several investments, but I was also working. So I went into the full-time stuff back in 2004. So about 12 years ago, where I started doing it full-time. I was laid off in 2003. So that was the tipping point for me. Now back in 89, my partner, Chris, became an investor when he started flipping houses right out of college. During the financial crisis, he renovated about 1,000 homes for a hedge fund. So he had a corporate job, but what he did was renovate for the hedge fund. And that's why we work so well together, because he didn't have to find the money. He just renovated the homes and he's an expert at it. And then he lets me find the money, and that way he can handle the crews and the renovation. And it's a really great partnership there. And we have a third partner who does all the accounting and tax stuff and pays the crews, takes care of a lot of the other paperwork, and he does a lot of the marketing for us as well. So that's our team. Our company is a private, for-profit real estate investing company. We acquire, rehab, and lease residential and at times commercial real estate, but most of those are multi-unit residential real estate. Our goal is to provide good, safe housing to tenants and first-time home buyers, and to create money-making opportunities for you. Integrity is a really important word in our company. We chose that word because it's the way we want to treat our customers, our suppliers, our contractors, and our lenders. Our competitive advantage is speed to purchase a property and the knowledge of creative real estate techniques. And because we have the advantage of paying cash, that's how we're able to work quickly and get a property under contract as fast as we can, and much faster than our competitors who are out there scrambling looking for loans. So Legacy Redevelopment of California rehabs and positions properties, manages rentals, and sells properties to home buyers. You can contact me at my local number in my office, and you can also go to the company directory if you want to speak to Chris or David, and that 800 number forwards to each of our separate phones. We have a website for private lenders. It's called High Rates for You. You'll have to contact me for a password because we can't share that information unless we give you permission, because we cannot advertise on the internet. This is a private type of lending. And so we have the website just to give you a chance to browse through it and look at our previous deals at your own pace. And that's why we have the website. And you can also email me specifically about the lending program, lenders@energywiseproperties.com. And that was my previous company that I started before I got into this team with Chris and David. So I'm going to go through some deals with you guys and show you what the deals look like, and that way you'll understand how, where your money would be going. So here's our website. We remodel projects while your nest egg grows while you relax. With our remodel projects, your nest egg grows while you relax. So this is the private lending site. Here's some houses that we're working on. This one is in Sacramento. This house was purchased to remodel, and it is on the MLS right now. This is one we sold, I think, earlier this year. Yes, in 2015. That's also in Sacramento. This property was sold. This property is down in San Diego. And here's a little quick inside tip. There's the kitchen. That's what these houses look like when we get finished. I'm showing you all the beautiful things that we put into these homes and just make them brand new again. This is also a Sacramento house that we sold last year. And there's the living room of a different house. If you notice, as investors, we like to keep things consistent. So even though these houses are different, we use the same paint and we often use the same flooring. So it might look similar to you, but they're different houses. Here's another house from our San Diego market. This house really was in bad shape, and it's now a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house. And here's another property in San Diego that we did a few years back. And this is the kitchen. We knocked out this wall and put in some hanging lights and put in nice granite countertops, and the new owners just love it. Now, we do sometimes hold houses to rent. So this is a house that we've purchased, and we're keeping that as a rental. And we've renovated the front house, and we're going to renovate the house in the backyard as well. I did mention commercial property. This is an apartment building that we remodeled, and that is rented out. And I have been holding this property for 10 years. So I have a lot of experience with holding those rentals. So if you want your interest to keep increasing, a long-term rental like that is perfect for your needs. This is also a long-term rental that we own. This one is a house that we've been renting out since 2002. So it's been rented out long-term as well. So what are the critical success factors? What makes our company unique is honesty, integrity, service, and education. We help educate you on alternative ways to invest so that you get a better return on your money, because no one wants to look at their retirement making 1% on all the money that they worked hard for their whole life. And what makes our company successful is teamwork, drive, focus, and hard work. We have a great team that we work with, and we all share the same vision of helping our investors. So what's the next step? By now you know how the program works and how you can start earning 9 or 10%. We hope you decide to join our team, but you have 3 options. One, you can say, you know what, this really isn't for me. It's not how I like things to do, how I'd like to do things. Number 2, you can call or email to set up one-on-one meetings, and we can discuss more details. Now, if I was meeting someone for the first time, I wouldn't use the slide, because I would have already showed them what there was to talk about, and it would be our one-on-one meeting. So this is really for the presentation part of it. Oh, it's been going on probably about 30 minutes. So you're going to want to watch this. This is the hour training I do on Thursday night. Sorry, guys on YouTube, but that was a question from Periscope. And the option 3 is you understand it, you like it, go ahead and stay in touch, and we'll keep you informed of our future projects. Let's stay on that one. So if I'm in a big group, I'll have a form. That's what this is for, a commitment form. They can kind of fill it out. I can grab their email address. Remember, the rule about marketing is don't give them your card. You need to collect their card so you can contact them. So those are the slides, guys. I'm going to stop presenting, and open it up for questions. We do have some live viewers on Webinar Jam and also on Periscope. Thanks for sharing it out to your followers. Let me just stop the slides. All right. So let me tilt this one down. I moved a bunch of things around when I was. All right. So let me get the lights back on here. All right, guys. Why don't you type some questions in the chat and also type in your name and where you're hanging out from, and love to answer your questions. That is how I would present. That's how I present private lending to a small group, but then I would adjust the slides and what I would say if it's to a one-on-one person. So questions in the chat, guys. Let's see. Tian, I know you're in there. Maxine and Aliman. Because in Webinar Jam, I can at least see who's here. So what kind of questions do you have? How many people, put this in the chat, have you ever used a private lender? Okay, Latoya, will these slides be available to the viewers somewhere? The whole recording, okay, it'll be on a Periscope, but the whole recording will be on YouTube. In fact, as soon as I finish the scope, this will be available. As far as the slide deck itself, I'm getting ready to do a private lending class, and I'll let you guys know how I do that. So in the class, you'd be able to get the slides. Now, I learned a lot of my private lending from Alan Cowgill, so I want to give him credit for that. When I redo the slides for my class, I'm going to use a different format, and I've changed the slides quite a bit, but I want to just have it a very professional. I've already bought sort of the background template, a little bit more modern approach, and more of a business approach. And so I have the background slides. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up. So that would be part of the course. If you decided to take the course, you would get the slides. And then I'll probably have kind of a VIP version where I work with you to make the slides specific for your company if that's not your expertise, because they could be in PowerPoint or Keynote. And then what I would probably do on an individual basis for people in the course, if they take the VIP route, is I would do a hangout with you and interview you about your company and your experience. And that way you could just send a private lender to that video and they could watch it. And it just gives you credibility if someone is interviewing you about what you do. All of a sudden, it's like you're in the news. Okay, so I'd like to help people get their credibility. Let's see, let's see. What is a good rate of return for private lenders? Okay, so here's, you like the slide color. Yes, I heard that orange and turquoise kind of go good together because they're on the opposite of the color wheel. So that's how I picked them. What can you put in the form that people fill out? Oh, I'll show you the last one just quickly. It's just a real quick form, but it would only be if you were talking to a group, right? If you're just with an individual, you wouldn't have them fill out a form. You would just exchange business cards. It would be a paper that you would hand out to the group, name and email and phone number. That was a question coming in from Tian on Webinar Jan. Thanks for joining, guys. All right, so did I miss a question on Periscope while I did that? Hopefully, if I did miss your question and you had one during the broadcast, go ahead and type that in, because during the broadcast, I was looking at the slides. So yeah, I'm going to do a small, oh yeah, you asked the percentage. That's what it was. So 10%, it's your program. That's what you have to understand. Just like the bank sets the rate based on what the feds tell them, they see how much profit that they want to get. This is your program. So you decide the interest rate, the terms, the points, you decide when you're going to pay, and then someone decides if they want to work with you. That's how it's set up. So we pay 10%. We know that's a really good rate. If you pay a lot more than that, people think, whoa, is that a scam or something? This is tailored for people who have a W-2 job. if you get into some guys that are in development, they've had high-level executive jobs, or they're doctors, they're used to kind of a development type investment where they've been told you'll get 13 to 16%. It's going to be in a development project where we build from the ground up for the next 2 years, and you'll get a payout at the, you'll get a few payouts along the way and then a payout at the end, and you might be maxing out at 18%. My experience is they're not as interested in these deals because they go after those other deals. They also do IPOs. They get in on private placements on when people start their company. So they're sought after all the time. So this is kind of a niche. You're going to go after people that you know, that your family knows, that your friends know, and those people have a W-2 job. They can get some money in the stock market, 7 to 8%, and I showed you that chart last week. So that's something I think I showed you on the resource page, and I'll show it again in a minute, how to download it. Yes, business owners make good private lenders. I'll tell you why. Because business owners borrowed money to start their business, and it's the same process. It's private lending. Now they're in their business and they're kind of locked in. They're making money, but they don't even have time to think about investments. And they would love it if you came along and showed them another venue. So I sometimes go down to the car, all the car repair guys, because they're all on the same street in my town, and just talk to them about private lending, and gotten a couple interested because of that. The other problem with business owners is they're so busy, it's hard to get them to commit. Retired people, really good, because they're trying to live on this 1% interest, and they don't really want the stock market because they're afraid about losing principal. And this way, their principal is in the property, so they like that. So yes, professional people, business owners like doctors, dentists. Again, sometimes when they have so much money, they say, well, I have to run this by my lawyer. So every time you do a deal, that's another analysis by their lawyer, and it cuts into their percentage. They're more likely to go into a fund. If you want to go through the process of getting a fund set up, then you can have a private placement where people, they put their money in, and there's a set amount that they're going to get, but you need a lawyer to set that up. Okay, with this plan, you can have direct lending just to that one property, because you have to go through the licensing process with your state in order to pool money. And when you put it in a fund, it's called pooling, because the money's mixed together. Okay, I think I might have missed a comment on Periscope. Yes, they are scared of everything, but they would like a better interest rate. And if you start with a small amount, it's easier for them. Okay. And I'm going to do some more scopes about teaming up with people. Like, how do you convince someone that you have experience when you haven't flipped a house yet? So there's two ways. The first is to find someone who's already flipping houses and offer to bring some of your private lenders' money to their deal. So you talk to them in advance and you say, I'm going to bring Joe over to the house and walk through and, the rehab. And then when you do your next deal, can he put some money into it? So you don't really get paid on this deal. You just get the credibility with your private lender, and you get the experience of watching someone else do the rehab and go through the process. And they're happy because they got money that they didn't have to chase. So all three people are happy about that. Just checking over my phone for Periscope questions. And the second way, so that's the first way, is to just bring the money to someone else's deal. The second way is to partner with someone who's already doing it. So you would be, in the deal yourself, financially in the deal, but you've met someone else who already has done the rehabs. One of the things I did when I started flipping was my partner was, he's a real estate investor, but he had contracting experience. He had his license as a contractor. So people just assume that he knows how to flip a house. You get certification for, I mentioned that last week. So if you've taken a bunch of real estate courses, I would do an 8.5 by 11 page you know, this size, just do it on your printer and make a certification for every course. And that way have a notebook that you can flip through and show them that you've taken a lot of education courses. I mentioned earlier about how to secure it. So everyone knows usually what an insurance policy is. I wanted to show you the two things. I'm not going to, this is someone's private information, so I'm not going to go into the detail, but that's a straight note. So you'd have a note there and the deed of trust. So those are the two things. I didn't X anything out on that. Those are the two things that that your private lender would get that secure their money to the house. They're also covered by the title insurance, the hazard insurance, and the fact that it appraised at more than you paid for it. Okay. Any other questions for you Periscope guys? At least by seeing the phone, when you're in the replay and the video, you understand that I'm talking to two devices at once. Hazard insurance, that's like your homeowner's policy. So when you're, that's another thing I should tell you about investing. So if you have a homeowner's policy, it's based on the fact that someone's in the house. So you get a pretty low rate for that. If you have a renter in the house, there's someone in the house, so you have a pretty low rate on the renter's insurance because you're only insuring the stuff in the walls and the appliances, and you're not insuring the tenant's property, their furniture. Where in your homeowner, you're insuring the walls, the appliances, and your own furniture. So a tenant policy is often fairly inexpensive. If you're flipping a house, that's a vacant property. It's a totally different insurance. Do not go get homeowners insurance for a vacant property because you're not covered. So, there's really only one company that offers this policy. It's called Foremost, and it's offered by Farmers Insurance. So there's agents everywhere, and they do offer this Foremost policy. There's, I think, one other company, but every deal I end up doing, it always qualifies for a Foremost policy. So that could cost anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 a year for that insurance policy because it's a vacant house. It's only liability and fire damage. And sometimes it doesn't even cover liability. Like it won't cover if your contractor slips. That should be covered by the contractor's insurance. For our fix and slip, we need hazard insurance. Yes, you do. Yes, absolutely. And people don't know about it. They think they can just get regular insurance. And remember, if you're paying cash, a lot of things that happen when you buy a house are told to you by the escrow company. But if you don't have a loan from a bank, it's not really required. And so the escrow company might ask you, well, does your private lender need hazard insurance? You'd have to go get it. If you're bringing all the cash to the table, the escrow company will not ask you if you need insurance. That's up to you to go get it. So I think when people first start doing this, they forget that they need insurance on the house because escrow doesn't kind of force you into getting it. So something to be aware of depending on where the money's coming from. Yes, if you have a vacant house and it has a pool, they will charge you more. If it's fenced, then it's not. If it's not fenced, then you can't lock it. They'll charge you more for that too. If the city has put red tags on it and there's more damage, that they charge more for that as well. So, all right, guys. Any other questions? You can type them into Webinar Jam or in Periscope. I think the poll has been up the whole time. If you guys that are in Webinar Jam want to fill out the poll, it just asks how many deals you've done. And I will share some resources for you right now. I have a book on finding private lenders. It doesn't go into the detail about the slides like I did tonight, but it goes into using your phone and tapping into all of your contacts. So you might have 250 people in your phone, and all those people have 250 people in their phone. So it's, 6 degrees of freedom. You're going to start with your group, And then you're going to move out and you're going to ask those people who weren't interested, you know, if they know someone. So the book steps you through the process and tells you exactly what to say. So let me load up that ebook. So there's a link. If you're in Webinar Jam now, you can go to that link and download the ebook. If you're watching later on YouTube, you have to go to my website, Wise Wealth University. It's probably linked below the YouTube video, but if not, it's the same name as my YouTube channel. Go to Wise Wealth University. There's a big button right on the first picture, but there's also a menu at the top under, not resources, it's under products. So it'll say ebook, private lending ebook. Thanks for the hearts over there on Periscope. So that's the private lending book. If you just click on the download button, if you're in Webinar Jam, you can grab that. And what else? Oh, I've got another resource for you. I'm going to take that one down. There's one more resource that you probably want, and I'll describe it for you guys on Periscope. So I have a lot of resources for investors and business owners, and those are on my website. I have a page called Resources, and because I talk about it so much, I recently put a tab on the menu. So if you go to wisewealthuniversity.com, which is linked below the video, or on Periscope, it's in my profile. I think on the right-hand menu at the top, it says Resources. So go there, and there's resources for you to use. And then if you're in Webinar Jam, you just click on the link that I have on the right side there. If you're in Periscope, I just want to show you how Webinar Jam works. There's a little side menu over here where I can give links out. And on the resource page, there's stuff about private lending. I'm trying to think of, oh, there's some software. It's free software. And what it does is you put your numbers for your deal in an Excel spreadsheet, and then it prints out a really nice report that you can give to your private lender and show them how the deal is going to work. So that's done by an investor, Daniel Clayman. And I put a link there for you for that. And there's a bunch of other resources. There's Reich that we use to organize our business between all my partners. And the other resource, that phone I mentioned in the chat, I have an 800 number. There's a link to my phone system there. I think it costs me, if no one's calling, it costs me about $16 a month. And then on top of that, they'll add a couple cents. Usually the only people call me from the business card or from my mailings. And then once they call me and I talk to them, then I get them off the 800 number and we start talking on a regular phone. But it just gives you a lot of prestige and a good way to have an 800 number that you can link up everybody's phone numbers and email to, so someone's going to answer the phone. Because when those letters, let me just grab a letter because it's kind of, you know, when the letters go out, let's get in close here. That one says vacant right on there, right? So that's cool. The postman wrote that for me. So when those letters go out and the phone starts ringing, you definitely want to be able to answer the phone. So, all right, I'm going to check the chat and see what other questions we have. Oh, the private lending course, I'm going to be putting that out, you know, with the holidays coming up. I don't think it'll come in December. It might be January, but I'm going to keep doing some more education here on it. And I haven't set the price yet. I'm going to have like a low entry price for the basic course, and then like an add-on for VIP, you know, for personal treatment, like extra slides and stuff. All right, so let me check Periscope. No questions over there. All right, guys, I'm going to close this out. Thank you so much for your time. I'll put the resource page back up there. Oh, if you were on Periscope and you're watching the replay, you would go to wisewealthuniversity.com and just click on the tab at the top that says resources. So thank you all, guys, for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. I love teaching you. It is so much fun, and I love the questions that keep coming in. Keep following me on Periscope. I'm the Pink Professor. And let me put up a link for that. Let's see, where'd my, yep, I have the link for you guys. So if you want to follow me on Twitter or on Periscope, I'm the Pink Professor. And if you want to have more of these hangouts, go to wisewealthuniversity.com/hangouts, and you can register there. And some of you on Periscope have done that. You will get an email every Thursday telling you about the hangout. And then on Friday, a link goes out with the replay. And then you can just watch the replay. If you miss Thursday night, you can just grab a beer on Friday, sit back, and watch the replay. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you. And follow me on Periscope. The scopes are shorter than Thursday night. Thursday night is in-depth training. I've been doing this for a year, so there's plenty of content on YouTube for you guys to watch. Thanks so much, and you guys have a great night. I will see you next Thursday.